Welcome back and moving on to our first segment of today. When we talk about the family, we are talking about the backbone of the society. And this is of great importance if you want to build a strong society. Whatever we're talking about, definitely it is related. And if you are talking about economic, political, whatever, what will come to your mind is definitely part of what we are talking about. And this actually was taken into consideration, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi addressed this in a very important speech. And also we have the inauguration of some of the housing units that took place, inaugurated by the President as well via video. So on the studio today we have with us Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
So the first part that I would like to talk about, the strategic construction, well-planned construction of the family. And definitely, as I mentioned, it is considered as the backbone of the society.
Yes. And Nashwa, let me say that for all economic development, experiences, starting from Europe after the Second World War till the economic miracles that happened in Asia, without ethics, you cannot build economic growth and economic development. And the family is the basis for all ethics. And from here it comes the importance of having such an important strategy. And we all know and witnessed lately that we have some problems, social problems regarding increasing rates of divorce. Still we have discrimination against women. Still we have violence. So all these phenomena need to be addressed properly in order to proceed and to best utilize our human resources. From here it comes the importance of such an important strategy, taking into consideration that Egypt nowadays is moving forward towards achieving Sustainable Development Vision 2030, and about to host COP27 this year. So all these events necessitate that to strengthen the importance of family and to how extent we can build a strong family based on ethics, and a strong family, which means that we have a family that empowered not only economically, socially, politically, and taking into consideration our culture, because we have a very strong culture that may enable us to be actually using our resources, human resources, in the best way.
The President himself addressed this important part, and if I'm talking, as you mentioned, of course, all the economic developments that are taking place, definitely is not going to be enough if we're not going to take this into consideration. I'm talking about even the percentage of divorce, a lot of things that are taking place now that needs more, let's say, financial to be supported or funding. So if we're talking about this important part and about all the initiatives that took place in confronting poverty and women empowerment and all this, and the President was talking in a very frankly, it was just a frankly chat with the Egyptian citizens, talking to them about things that are taking place in our houses actually.
Yes, Nashwa, I agree with you, and I quoted one of the speech of the President regarding addressing the output of our educational system. When he mentions that a position, they asked for applicants, and a large number of applicants applied for such position, and minimal percentage, less than 1%, have been approved, which means that still we have the output of our educational system cannot cope with, the demand in the labor market nowadays. And this is a severe challenge for us because, when you would like to achieve economic growth and economic development, you have to upgrade skills, you have to enhance productivity. And this enhancing productivity is not only going to be from the output from universities, but we have to emphasize on technical schools. We have to address what we can call the remainings from failure systems of education for the last decades, because we have a dropout from schools, we have educational system, technical educational systems in which output it's not coping with the demand. So all these remainings, as you can mention, these are considering to be a large part of our labor force that we need to address it properly, and we need a strategic policies towards addressing this challenge. It could be mentioned as a big challenge for achieving economic growth. Why? Because they are not nowadays enrolled in educational system, but they are outside as they cannot afford to have an opportunity of job. What we need to do is, because I'm working in that, I am leading in a foundation, and I'm working in upgrading skills of poor people in poor areas, and enable them to have opportunities of job. And from my experience, and I'm concentrating on gender perspective, concentrating on women, poverty is very high in rural areas, and specifically in Upper Egypt, as statistics mentioned. So when you address women or youth in slums or in poor areas, you are going to find them working in very, in activities that, there is no future for such activities. So you have to encourage them, and you have to convince them that this cannot be a career. When you work in such activities like taking care, just walking in the streets and finding any services that can be provided in the streets, all these types of work that cannot be considered a decent opportunity of job, as the ILO specifying it. They are not decent at all, and they are not actually giving them a way of life or a career, sustainable career. From here, you have to address those youth, and they are huge, large number. You have to address them, and addressing them according to the strategy should be from the family, because the family as a unit can make this mission and can convince youth to start, a training, and then this training may lead them to have such an opportunity of job. So I believe this is a big challenge from my point of view and from my experience, and it needs the work of, NGOs. And I see that Minister of Solidarity exerting very good effort towards, addressing those NGOs properly, and, let them as a very important channels to support, the minister's mission towards addressing poverty and enhancing the quality of life for poor people in Egypt.
Usually we say that the most difficult or challenging kind of investments, that one that has to do with human capital.
Yes.
And we can never proceed without taking this into consideration. Again, that was very clear. Maybe now we live in or among many different initiatives that we did not witness before, whether I'm talking about decent life or initiatives taking care of women, health, all these things. We are preparing the society.
Yes.
In large.
And this is a holistic approach of human resources, because you cannot address just only the economic side, but the economic side can be a very important starting point. Why? Because you cannot ask women, for example, to go to for a political life and they cannot find their lives, for example. So if you start with just securing them with the basic needs, and then gradually you can let them or enhance their awareness regarding their health, you know, the social life, how they can in a community live in a community in a very constructive way. So all this can be as a holistic approach, and then from such you know, holistic approach, you can achieve a better results. But we have a challenge here. You mentioned, Nashwat, that we have a lot of initiatives. Yes, we have a lot of initiatives nowadays addressing economic, social dimensions, but still we lack harmony among all these initiatives. So when you lack harmony among these initiatives, you are suffering from increasing cost. As economist, I can say that this is a part of our life, that all the way you can find, you know, a waste of resources coming from this type of waste, and harmonization may lead you to reach a better results in a shorter period. So this is a dilemma we are now in. Most of these ministers, NGOs, and even private sector, they would like to do something, and there is very, you know, tendency to do that in a very encouragement, you know, atmosphere. But still, we need this kind of harmonization.
Right, and also we have the inauguration of a number of housing units, and again, this is something of great importance. Yes. That took place. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated a number of housing units via video, and there were, of course, there was a speech, and the president talked about many important things. Let's take a look, and we'll be back. Welcome back. So, many important things to be mentioned, and just as I mentioned right now, the most important part, if you are looking or if you want to look for a better future, we have to start by building our human capitals and provide them with their basic needs. We're talking about basic needs that really these people suffered decades, as mentioned. Yes. So, like for example, housing, this was one of the most important challenging parts, that people, they deserve to live in houses, they deserve to drink clean water, the children need to live in a better environment, because definitely you can never ask for a better future or a clean environment or new economic projects without taking into consideration Egyptian citizens themselves.
Yes, and you know what you can see, Nashwa, for the last period, that great effort has have been exerted towards providing housing for the majority of you know, people in Egypt, taking into consideration different level of income. You have, you know, for poor people, you have housing, and very nice one, and you have a higher level, and then you know, there are 3 levels that they can address middle income and low income and so on. So this is quite important. Why? And it has been very speedy, which means that for this period nowadays, as the president declared yesterday, that nowadays we don't have a shortage of housing. Nowadays, everybody who is going to ask for a house, he is going to find a house in a good way, with infrastructure, and this was another way towards the expansion of population into wider areas, because nowadays housing is existing everywhere. In each governorate we have a new governorate, you know, which means that there is an extension so that to relax this, you know, this concentration of people in a very small surface, and from here it comes that this is more healthy, more, you know, attracting more economic activities, spreading economic activities. So all this actually happened in a very short period. But still, we need, you know, to speed the opportunities of work, which means that we have nowadays very good infrastructure. Still, as international institutions nowadays praising to large extent the advancement of the Egyptian economy and to how extent we managed to address COVID-19, but still we have some challenges, like the most important from my point of view, the capability of the economy to generate opportunities of job. Latest reports mention that this capability is weak, which means that we have to work on that. Because when you have people and youth nowadays, they would like to enjoy from such housing, they need to gain their lives and to have decent opportunity of job so that they can afford, paying installments of, we all know that this housing has been coincided with very soft types of lending, which means that interest rate is 3% only to those who would like to buy a house like that, which means that there are facilities for youth to start and to have their own houses. But besides that, and in order to benefit from that, we need to enhance the capability of the economy to generate opportunities of job in different areas. And I remember moving from the financial and monetary reform towards the structural reform. And actually, President Sisi strengthened the importance of three main sectors, the agriculture, the industrial, and information technology. We witnessed last year's a leap in the rate of growth for information technology, 16% rate of growth the last 2 years. And I believe this coming with digitalization of the government and with fintech and all these initiatives in order to move Egypt into a new generation in which Egypt can be integrated properly into the world economy. But we need to upgrade skills, we need to direct youth, we need to encourage them and coach them towards opportunities of job. Still, we need more efforts in this matter.
And going along with this, as we can see that all these projects are taking into consideration again the environment, the green environment, in addition to the infrastructure, as you mentioned. And usually whenever we talk about economy, infrastructure is one of the main pillars. We can see the new roads, the access, all these things, and definitely this facilitates the movements, as the President mentioned.
And reduce the cost of transportation of goods and, enable people to move
linking
from
the
areas.
whole country.
Linking the whole country. This is quite important for activating economic activities, and this is what I mentioned, which means that we need to concentrate on our real sources of income. Nashwa, that last period during the economic reform from 2016 to 2019, we used to have the consumption sector as leading economic, as a very important source of economic growth. We managed during this period to reduce the participation of consumption and imports, and to enhance the participation of export and investments. This is what we have to go further in it. Because when you enhance export and investment, you are enlarging opportunities of job. And you are sustaining such opportunities. Why? Because you cannot export without competitiveness, and competitiveness needs technology and transfer of technology. So the diffusion of technology may enable you to enhance your position and your competitiveness worldwide, and support and secure sustainable development, specifically when we talk nowadays about green economy. And we have nowadays in Egypt a lot of very promising large projects toward moving to green economy.
And of course, including this, not only the new cities, but we can see that we can have many different projects taking place even in crowded areas to facilitate the traffic and to widen the streets.
We all notice that. as a citizen. You know, we all notice that nowadays it takes less time to go from place to place, and you can arrange your time more properly, which is a part of you know, economic issues, because when you can manage your time properly, when you can move your products and your workers, you know, all this may enable a better environment, but still to invest that and to benefit from that, you need to enlarge investments, not only for large projects, but still, even despite all what we are talking about for small business, still the participation of small business in Egypt is not up to what we are dreaming, to absorb a larger percent of those seeking opportunities of jobs.
Doctor, usually when we talk about all these huge projects taking place, and for any investor, foreign investment, anyone who would like to invest in Egypt, usually people, they still cannot link this, that as an investor, before moving into the country, he has something that is one of his main tools, making an analysis about the market, making an analysis about the country, about the movement of goods, just as you mentioned. All these things are taken into consideration by the investor before coming to the country.
Yes, of course, and Nashwa, we are looking forward to attract foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment is quite important for us, and after COVID, actually, or in this period, we haven't unfortunately finished yet from COVID, but you know, during this period, we witnessed that there is a huge opportunities for foreign direct investment to come and invest. Very profitable opportunities of investment are existing in Egypt nowadays because of we still haven't used properly our mineral resources. For examples, we have the new area in Suez Canal. We have a lot of areas that investment is quite important, but still more challenges need to be addressed too, like climate of investment, like not changing you know, rules and procedures of investment in a very short period. We need to be present for foreign investors you know, sustainable climate of investment, so that when they come, not every time you can have new rules for the games, like for import and export and so on. So still we need to be just persistent on attracting this investment and enhancing actually opportunities for using these resources.
Right. Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University, of course, always a pleasure having you with us on the show. Right, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.
مبادرة حياة كريمة